It was a peaceful day on Earth, a typical Tuesday when the unimaginable happened. A flash of bright light in the sky, visible from every corner of the planet, caught the attention of millions. At first, people thought it was just another meteor or a passing comet. But as the light grew brighter and the object grew larger, everyone knew something extraordinary was happening. In cities all over the world, people looked up in wonder, fear, and curiosity. News stations began broadcasting emergency reports, while social media platforms exploded with speculations. People speculated wildly. Was it a spaceship, an alien invasion, a secret government project? No one could say for sure, but all eyes were on the sky. And then the first official announcement came. The United Nations issued a statement. An alien fleet has arrived at the edge of the solar system. We are investigating their intentions. The words alien fleet struck fear into the hearts of many. The world had heard of aliens before, mostly in stories and movies, but now it was real. The Eldari, as the beings called themselves, had arrived after a peaceful 3,000-year-long relationship with Earth. The last time they visited, it had been a peaceful diplomatic mission, one that led to the exchange of knowledge and technologies. But now, they were sending warships. Gigantic, imposing ships that filled the skies with a sense of dread. They didn't just come to visit. They came to demand something, but no one knew exactly what. As news of the arrival spread, governments went into full alert. World leaders and military commanders held emergency meetings. Everyone was expecting the worst. Panic began to spread among ordinary people, and many took to the streets, unsure of what the future would hold. Shelters were opened. Preparations were made. Weapons were readied. Earth had faced wars before, but nothing like this. Nothing that could challenge the very idea of human survival. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of trembling in fear, instead of retreating into panic, humanity did something no one saw coming. They laughed. It started in the streets. People who were gathered around watching the news reports, seeing images of these alien ships, couldn't help but laugh. Some thought it was a joke, maybe a prank. How could this be real? After all, the Eldari had been peaceful for millennia. Why would they suddenly start a war? Others found it ridiculous that such a grand, dramatic event could cause so much chaos when Earth had overcome far worse challenges before. Aliens trying to start a war with us. Seriously, one man said with a laugh, sharing his thoughts on social media. His post went viral almost instantly. Can't believe aliens are trying to scare us with shiny ships. Another woman added, posting a meme of the alien fleet with a caption, "We've been through worse. Call me when you bring a bigger spaceship." Soon, the entire internet was flooded with memes, jokes, and lighthearted comments. It wasn't just social media either. Everywhere you went, people were making light of the situation. In offices, factories, and schools, the looming alien threat was met with laughter, as if to say, what's the worst they can do? The humans had somehow turned a terrifying moment into a ridiculous spectacle. Some even began joking that the Eldari had mistaken Earth for another planet, as if they were lost. Others suggested that the aliens were just bad at making first impressions. And the military. While the world's generals and admirals were preparing for battle, they found it impossible to take the situation seriously. Could they really go to war with a species that was so peaceful for so long? Could they really expect to fight an enemy that didn't even seem to know how to scare people properly? In Washington, D.C., the president's spokesperson addressed the nation. "We are aware of the alien presence, and we are prepared for any situation. But rest assured, we will not be intimidated. Earth has faced far worse, and we will stand united." To the surprise of many, the president ended the speech with a smile and a wink. And if they think they can scare us, they'd got another thing coming. Back in New York City, a group of college students held up signs in front of a news crew, shouting out in unison, "Bring it on, Eldari." The cameras captured their confident faces, with some of the students even laughing, as if they were challenging the aliens to show what they were really made of. Across the globe, humanity's collective response was clear. They weren't afraid. They weren't intimidated. If the Eldari had come to start a war, they would have to do better than this. Much better. But the aliens, watching the humans' reaction from their massive warships, couldn't understand. They had never encountered such a response before. They were used to fear. They were used to power. And they had expected humanity to cower before them. What they didn't expect was laughter. The Eldari were now left to ponder. Had they made a terrible mistake in thinking that Earth would surrender so easily? And so, the first chapter of this unexpected war began, not with a battle, but with an unexpected human reaction: laughter. As the days passed, the Eldari's presence in the solar system grew more and more overwhelming. Their fleet, an armada of sleek, powerful warships, hovered just outside Earth's atmosphere, blocking out the stars and casting long shadows over the planet. The alien ships were enormous, easily the size of cities, and their technology seemed far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Yet despite the size and strength of their ships, the people of Earth refused to be frightened. In fact, the more the Eldari seemed to loom over the planet, the more the humans mocked them. Memes flooded the internet. When you show up with a 3,000-year-old peace treaty, but forget your sense of humor. People laughed, shrugged, and even began to make jokes about their new alien neighbors. But behind the laughter, world leaders were meeting urgently. The Eldari had made their demands clear. They wanted humanity to submit, to recognize their superiority and kneel before their technological might. The alien fleet's commander, an ancient being named Veraldar, sent a message to Earth's leaders, warning that any resistance would be met with devastating force. His message was calm, dignified, and commanding, but all it did was make the situation seem even more absurd to the people of Earth. "They think we'll kneel," said General Marcus, shaking his head during a meeting with the United Nations. "They've miscalculated. We're not afraid of them. We faced greater challenges." Across the world, in cities and towns, it was the same story. People didn't seem afraid. Instead, they waited for the inevitable conflict with a sense of defiance and a bit of humor. In London, a group of teenagers dressed up as aliens for Halloween, parodying the invaders with fake tentacles and oversized helmets. They stood on street corners, holding up signs that read, "Free hugs for peace." Even the news anchors couldn't help but crack a smile as they reported on the alien menace. The Eldari, on the other hand, could not understand it. They had traveled across the galaxy, having faced countless civilizations that had cowered before them. Their fleet had defeated entire species with ease, bringing them to their knees with the sheer might of their advanced weapons and technology. But here, on Earth, they were met with laughter, memes, and defiant slogans. It made no sense. Commander Veraldar, leader of the Eldari, was perplexed. He had expected fear, but all he received was mockery. He ordered his fleet to prepare for the next phase of their operation, a full-scale invasion. He believed that the humans' laughter was a defense mechanism, one that would quickly turn to terror once the first strike was made. But still, he found it difficult to believe that Earth was so confident in its own strength. As the Eldari prepared their forces, a small group of Earth's brightest minds began to discuss how to respond. They knew they couldn't just stand there and let the aliens invade, but they didn't want to be intimidated either. The solution came from a surprising source: the Internet. Young people, gamers, and hackers had begun to form an underground resistance, using the power of technology to fight back. They decided that they would not meet force with force. Instead, they would use the only thing they had that the Eldari couldn't understand: humor and creativity. In just a few days, a coordinated campaign began. The underground resistance flooded social media with fake alien transmissions, spoof videos, and playful attacks on the Eldari's appearance. One popular meme depicted a group of human soldiers in a mock battle with oversized, inflatable alien dolls, pretending to defeat the invaders with foam swords. Another video went viral, showing the human commander standing before a hologram of an Eldari ship, saying, "We came for your resources, but all we found was this giant metal pinata." The Eldari did not know how to respond. The very idea that humans could make light of their invasion was beyond them. Verildar watched these videos, his confusion growing. He had expected to see fear in the eyes of the humans, but instead they were poking fun at his fleet. It was as if they didn't take him seriously at all. While the Eldari struggled to comprehend this, the Earth's leaders continued to plan. General Marcus, who had once been a skeptic of the online humor movement, began to realize something important. He saw that the human response wasn't just about mocking the Eldari. It was about showing them that humanity would not bow down to anyone, no matter how advanced or powerful they seemed. Humans had their own strengths, and those strengths were their creativity, their unity, and their ability to turn any situation, no matter how serious, into something they could control. As Earth's media continued to flood the internet with mocking, but clever, content, the Eldari made their first move. They deployed their fleet closer to Earth, intending to assert their power in a show of force. But they were still met with ridicule. When their ships hovered over major cities, people on the ground waved up at them, chanting, "Is that all you've got?" In Tokyo, a group of musicians played an impromptu concert in front of one of the massive Eldari ships, turning the invasion into a street performance. They even made a song out of the words Eldari, turning them into a catchy chorus that got stuck in everyone's head. This time, the Eldari were not just confused, they were frustrated. They had traveled across the stars to begin what they believed would be an easy conquest. But instead, they were facing a force they didn't understand. Humanity's ability to laugh in the face of danger. It was something they had never encountered, and it was something they had no idea how to fight. For the first time in the Eldari's long history, their enemies weren't afraid. And that made the situation even more dangerous than anything they had imagined. The Eldari were confused, frustrated, and now they were starting to get worried. It was one thing to be mocked from a distance, but the humans' refusal to show fear was something completely unexpected. Commander Verildar, leader of the Eldari fleet, had never faced a situation like this. In his centuries of commanding armies, he had never encountered a species that laughed in the face of invasion. To the Eldari, humor was an unknown weapon, and it was starting to wear down their patience. "What are they doing?" Verildar muttered, staring at the live feed from Earth. His sharp, alien features twisted into an expression of both curiosity and annoyance. He looked at his command officers, all of whom seemed just as puzzled. Why are they not cowering in terror? Why do they mock us? The Eldari were a proud ancient race. They had traveled the galaxy for millennia, conquering civilizations, establishing their dominance, and making empires fall. Their technology was far more advanced than anything humans could even imagine. Their ships were powered by energy sources that no human had ever seen. Their weapons could destroy planets with a single strike. And yet, they had never faced anything like this. Earth's leaders, meanwhile, were not wasting time wondering about the aliens' confusion. Instead, they were making their own plans. The world's military leaders, scientists, and strategists convened in secret meetings to discuss the most effective response. The situation was unlike anything Earth had ever faced, and there was no clear answer to what should be done. Yet, one thing was certain: humanity could not let this go unchallenged. "We can't just sit back and hope they'll leave," said General Marcus, looking over the maps and data collected from the Eldari fleet. "They are not here for peace. They're here to conquer us. We need to act." But the world's governments had a problem. The Eldari were powerful, their ships large and almost indestructible. Even with all of Earth's weapons combined, humanity was not ready to face such an enemy. So Earth's leaders decided to approach the situation in a way that no one had ever imagined. It wasn't about military power this time. It was about using the very thing that had made the Eldari stumble in the first place: humanity's creativity. Earth's scientists, engineers, and tech experts came together to create a new plan, one that involved turning the alien invasion into a spectacle. If the Eldari wanted a war, they would get a war, but it would be a war on humanity's terms, a war they couldn't possibly understand. The plan was simple: confuse the Eldari, overwhelm them with the unexpected. It wasn't about fighting with lasers and bombs. It was about fighting with human ingenuity, humor, and sheer willpower. And so, in the dark corners of the internet, a new movement began. It was a campaign like no other. People from all walks of life began to join the effort. Gamers, artists, hackers, and inventors came together to create an online army of creativity. Their goal: to turn the Eldari's high-tech invasion into something they could never prepare for, something absurd, unpredictable, and utterly human. "We'll flood their systems with nonsense," said Emily, a young hacker from the United States who had quickly become one of the leaders of this new movement. "We'll hack into their communications, their ships, their weapons. We'll make them question everything they know." At the same time, artists and meme creators took to social media to generate content that would distract and confuse the Eldari. They began posting viral videos, each one more ridiculous than the last. One video showed a human commander standing in front of a green screen, shouting orders to a group of humans wearing cardboard alien costumes. Another showed a woman pretending to negotiate with an Eldari warship, offering them Earth's most valuable resource, a lifetime supply of pizza. Across the world, people were laughing, and that was exactly what the Eldari couldn't understand. They had never faced an enemy that used laughter as a weapon. They had never seen a species so confident that it could turn even the most serious moment into a joke. In the Eldari fleet, the confusion was growing. Their best engineers were trying to understand why their advanced communication systems were suddenly receiving strange signals, signals that sounded like human laughter, music, and even funny noises. They attempted to track the source, but it was everywhere. It was in their systems, on their screens, and even in the audio frequencies they had thought were secure. The Eldari couldn't stop it, and the more they tried to control it, the more it spread. Commander Veraldar watched as his warships began to glitch and malfunction. His top engineers had no answers. "What is this?" he demanded. "Why are our ships reacting this way? This is madness." One of his officers spoke up, a young Eldari who had recently joined the fleet. It seems like they are using some kind of psychological warfare, Commander. They're overwhelming us with laughter." Veraldar's sharp eyes narrowed. He didn't understand. How could this be? How could they, a proud and powerful race, be undone by something as trivial as human humor? But the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. The Eldari had always relied on their technology, their power, and their advanced knowledge. They had never considered that a species could fight back by simply refusing to be afraid. They had never considered that laughter could be a weapon. "We need to adapt," Veraldar finally said. "We can't let this continue. We must attack, or we will lose this war before it even begins." But deep down, he feared the humans had already won. They weren't afraid, and that was something the Eldari had never expected. The Eldari fleet hovered over Earth, their ships casting massive shadows across the planet's surface. Commander Veraldar had ordered the deployment of his forces to prepare for the final strike. But something was different. A sense of unease lingered among his officers. The Eldari had faced countless civilizations across the galaxy, yet here, on Earth, something felt off. The humans were not responding the way they expected. The humor, the mocking, the memes, it all had a strange effect. For the first time in their long history, the Eldari were beginning to question their approach. Commander Veraldar knew they could overpower humanity with sheer force. They had the power, the technology, the resources to obliterate the entire planet if necessary. But the more he thought about it, the more it seemed like that wasn't the answer. The humans were not afraid, and they weren't going to submit. They were laughing, resisting, and showing no signs of weakness. That was something the Eldari didn't know how to handle. Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was taking an unexpected turn. While the world's leaders and military strategists worked tirelessly on defensive plans, the people continued to take the lead in their own unique way. The underground resistance, composed of ordinary citizens, hackers, artists, and tech experts, continued to flood the internet with content that further confused and baffled the Eldari. But it wasn't just memes anymore. It was becoming something bigger. It was a movement, a statement. Every day, new viral videos emerge, showing humans taking on the alien invasion with creativity and humor. One video, filmed in a busy city square, showed a group of people dressed in full alien costumes, dancing to Earth's most popular pop songs, while a giant inflatable spaceship floated behind them. The title of the video read, "We come in peace, but we love a good dance-off." On the streets, ordinary citizens began to show even more resistance, not with weapons or violence, but with pride. In New York City, people gathered in large crowds, holding signs that read, "Earth, 1, Eldari, 0, and we're not scared, we're prepared." In London, a group of comedians started a live-stream show where they interviewed fake alien invaders, making fun of their fashion choices and lack of basic human manners. The show quickly gained millions of viewers, turning the invasion into a global joke. Even the most serious news outlets started sharing the humorous content, making the whole situation seem more like a bizarre spectacle than an actual threat. It was a moment of unity. People from all over the world, regardless of their differences, were coming together to laugh. And that, more than anything, was what disturbed the Eldari the most. The more they tried to assert their superiority, the more the humans refused to take them seriously. The humor was contagious, and even Earth's leaders, once serious and grim, began to smile and joke about the situation. It was as if humanity had decided, as a whole, that the Eldari could not break their spirit. Inside the Eldari command ship, Veraldar paced in frustration. His thoughts were scattered, and his officers were offering no new insights. He had come to Earth expecting an easy victory, but the more he observed the humans, the more he realized something crucial. Earth's strength was not in its technology or military might. It was in its will. The will to survive. The will to laugh in the face of danger. The will to stand firm, no matter the odds. "Why do they not surrender?" Veraldar asked, his voice tight with tension. His second-in-command, a younger officer named Tyler, spoke up, her voice laced with uncertainty. "Commander, it's their unity. They are not just laughing at us. They are laughing together. They've turned this invasion into a collective effort. They have taken away our power by showing us their strength through unity." Veraldar paused, his mind racing. He had never considered this. The Eldari had always relied on power, fear, and intimidation. But humanity had something that even their advanced technology couldn't defeat: their unyielding spirit, the refusal to be cowed, the ability to turn any situation, even a crisis, into an opportunity for defiance. "I've seen this before," said Tyler, her voice quieter now. "A species that refuses to break, no matter the pressure. A species that does not fear defeat. It's what made the best civilizations in the galaxy, the ones we couldn't conquer." Veraldar stared at her, realization dawning on him. "You think they could win?" Tyler nodded slowly. "They don't need our technology, Commander. They don't need to match us blow for blow. They have something far more powerful: their resolve. If we attack now, we risk making them fight harder, not out of desperation, but out of pride. If they are united, they will fight to the very end. We could lose everything." The words hit Veraldar like a thunderclap. He had underestimated humanity. It wasn't just about winning the war. It was about breaking their spirit. And that, it seemed, was the one thing they couldn't do. The humans would not bow. They would not surrender. The commander looked out at the earth below. The planet was a beautiful, vibrant world, and now it seemed it was more than just a planet. It was a symbol of everything the Eldari had overlooked in their quest for control. They had forgotten the most important lesson of all. That strength could come from the most unexpected places. The laughter, the memes, the unity. It was more than a defense. It was a battle cry. And for the first time since their arrival, Veroldar began to question if the Eldari should be the ones who left. As the days passed, the tension in the Eldari fleet grew. Commander Veroldar paced back and forth in his command room, eyes locked on the screens displaying Earth. His fleet had not moved. They remained in orbit, waiting for orders, but each moment of indecision made the humans' confidence grow stronger. The relentless humor, the jokes, and the unity of Earth's people continued to have a profound effect on the Eldari. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. On Earth, the situation was starting to shift as well. The human response, originally thought to be a mere act of defiance, was now becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. People from all over the world were working together, pushing back against the alien invasion in ways that no one had anticipated. The underground resistance was now a full-blown movement. What started as a few memes and videos had evolved into a series of coordinated efforts to disrupt the Eldari fleet. Hackers were constantly sending false signals, overwhelming the Eldari ships with strange messages and distorted frequencies. Meanwhile, the humans worked tirelessly to create new forms of resistance, both online and on the streets. Across the globe, new kinds of protests were happening every day. In Rio de Janeiro, a group of street performers began staging alien confrontations, where they dressed as aliens and negotiated with mock Eldari spaceships, offering them ridiculous demands, like an endless supply of sunglasses or an alien dance-off. People were laughing, but it wasn't just for fun. It was a statement that humanity would not be intimidated. As these acts of rebellion spread, a new kind of resistance was born, one that came from the very core of humanity's identity. It wasn't about weapons or military might anymore. It was about uniting behind something greater. The shared spirit of humanity. People found comfort in the simple act of laughter. They found strength in humor. Even the leaders of Earth, who had once been serious and grim about the Eldari threat, began to adopt the same attitude. General Marcus, who had been one of the most hardened military minds on Earth, found himself participating in the movement. One evening, while attending a live-streamed broadcast of a comedic debate about how to entertain Eldari invaders, he was seen laughing in front of millions. It was a powerful moment, a message that even Earth's most powerful leaders were no longer afraid. Meanwhile, Veroldar's frustration reached its peak. He stared at his screen, watching the humans below. They were dancing, singing, and laughing, completely ignoring the Eldari fleet above them. The commander had never seen anything like it. For centuries, he had watched civilizations crumble under pressure, begging for mercy. But these humans, they were standing tall, laughing in their faces. Why are they not frightened? Veroldar muttered. His officer Tyler, standing beside him, didn't have an answer. No one had an answer. The Eldari were used to controlling fear, to exploiting the vulnerabilities of other species, but the humans were breaking all the rules. They're not afraid because they don't believe they should be, Tyler said quietly. They're laughing because they think we don't have the power to change them. And maybe they're right. The words hung in the air between them. Veroldar had always believed that fear was the ultimate weapon, but the humans were showing him something different. They had embraced their own power, and it was something the Eldari didn't understand. The more they laughed, the more powerful they became. As the resistance efforts grew stronger, so did Earth's determination. People continued to stand together, sharing their messages of defiance, of hope, and of joy. The Eldari, who had arrived with the intention of crushing humanity, found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had ever known. It wasn't just the memes or the videos that were having an effect. It was the way the humans had found a new strength in each other, a strength that the Eldari could not conquer. The world's leaders began to organize. General Marcus, alongside world leaders, announced a new initiative. Earth would not beg for mercy. Earth would not fall. Instead, the resistance would continue to grow, and it would do so with one unified voice. They would fight not with weapons, but with the power of unity and unshakable resolve. "We are not just fighting for survival," said General Marcus in a global broadcast. "We are fighting for the future of humanity. We will not be silenced. We will stand, united, and laugh in the face of fear. We will not let our spirit be broken." His words resonated with billions. People took to the streets once more, not in fear, but in defiance. It was a massive show of strength that the Eldari could not ignore. Meanwhile, Veroldar's mind raced. The humans' refusal to succumb to fear, their refusal to give in, was starting to have a profound effect on him and his officers. It was clear now that the Eldari could not win this battle by brute force alone. If they attacked, they risked facing a united front, a front of humans whose strength lay in their shared purpose. "What are we waiting for?" Tyler asked, breaking the silence in the room. "We have the power. We can destroy them." Veroldar turned to her slowly. He had heard her words, but something in him was uncertain. "If we attack, will we truly win, or will we face a battle we're not prepared for?" The doubt in his voice was palpable. The Eldari were not used to hesitation, but now it seemed as if they were facing an enemy who was stronger in ways they could not understand. The human spirit was a force that could not be broken, and it was a force that Veroldar was beginning to fear. For the first time since their arrival, the Eldari were not the ones in control. It was Earth that held the power now. And that, more than anything, was what Veroldar had failed to anticipate. The tension in space was palpable. The Eldari fleet, still hovering above Earth, seemed to be waiting for something that never came. Commander Veroldar stared out at the blue planet below, feeling an unease deep in his chest. He had never been one to doubt his decisions, but the longer he watched humanity's response to the invasion, the more uncertain he became. The humans were laughing. They were laughing at him, at the Eldari, and it was something he could not comprehend. He turned to his officers, who had been silent for hours. Their faces were full of the same confusion he felt, their brows furrowed in frustration. "We have underestimated them," Veroldar finally said, breaking the silence. His voice was quieter than usual, almost thoughtful. "Their resistance is unlike anything I've ever seen. They are not fighting the way we expected." Tyler, his second in command, nodded. "They are not afraid. They are united. The more we try to intimidate them, the stronger they seem. They are turning our invasion into a joke, but it's more than that. It's a statement." Veroldar's gaze turned back to the planet. Earth was far from the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, but their ability to adapt, to remain resolute, was becoming a force in its own right. The memes, the viral videos, the mass protests, they were not just acts of defiance. They were a form of resistance, and they were spreading across the planet at an alarming rate. On Earth, the response to the invasion had shifted yet again. It had started with humor, then evolved into organized protests. And now, humanity had found something deeper. It was as though the entire planet had united around a single, simple truth. They would not let anyone take their world from them. The human resistance was stronger than ever. The world's leaders had declared that they would fight, but not with weapons. They would fight with everything they had, from their voices to their creativity. The streets were filled with people of all ages, each one determined to stand their ground. No one was hiding. No one was surrendering. Humanity had found its strength in unity, and it was a force the Eldari were not prepared for. General Marcus, once known for his tactical brilliance on the battlefield, now found himself in front of millions of viewers. The camera zoomed in on him as he stood beside a group of children, all holding signs that read, "This is our planet." His eyes were filled with determination, but there was also something else. Hope. "The Eldari think they can take our planet by force," he said, addressing the audience. "But they've forgotten one thing. We are not like any other species they've encountered. We fight for what we love, for what we believe in, and we will not let them take that away. We stand together as one world, and we will make sure they never forget what it means to face humanity." The words sent a wave of energy across the planet. People cheered. They rallied together, uniting under one banner, Earth. They were not afraid of the alien threat. They were not going to give up their world. As the days passed, the resistance movement spread even further. Ordinary citizens, tech experts, and artists worked together to launch a global network of information. Every country had its own version of a defiant campaign. In Paris, protesters dressed as Eldari and mimicked their alien gestures, turning the streets into a playful mockery of the invaders. In Tokyo, dancers took to the streets, forming a flash mob that quickly became the talk of the world. The videos spread, and the Eldari watched as their own technology seemed to buckle under the weight of humanity's creativity. Back in space, the Eldari fleet was scrambling. Their communication systems were being flooded with so much data that their engineers struggled to keep up. The frequency of human-generated content had reached a level that even their advanced technology couldn't filter out. It was chaos. "This is beyond anything we faced," one of Veroldar's officers muttered. "How are they doing this?" Veroldar clenched his fists. He had always been confident in his ability to control a situation, but now he found himself grasping at straws. He had come to Earth with the intent to dominate, but the more he observed, the more he realized that his fleet wasn't the one in control. It was Earth, and it wasn't just the humans' laughter that was threatening to undo the Eldari. It was their refusal to bow. A sudden thought hit Veroldar with the force of a lightning strike. What if it wasn't just about resisting us? What if humanity was showing them something much more powerful, something that went beyond technology, beyond power? What if they were showing us what true strength is? His thoughts were interrupted by a new message from his command center. A young officer, who had recently joined the fleet, spoke urgently. "Commander, we've detected something. There's a massive wave of data coming from Earth. It's not just noise anymore. It's a signal. They've found a way to hijack our systems. We're losing control of some of our ships." Veroldar's heart skipped a beat. He stared at the screen. It was happening. The humans were not just resisting anymore. They were taking the fight to the Eldari, using their own technology against them. Humanity was hacking into the very systems the Eldari had relied on to maintain control. "Their systems," Veroldar whispered. "They've learned how to use them. They've turned our own tools against us." Tyler looked at him, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. "We need to act now, Commander. If we don't, we could lose everything." Veroldar took a deep breath. For the first time, he felt doubt creeping into his mind. The humans were no longer just a nuisance. They were a real threat. And what was worse, they were learning faster than the Eldari could ever imagine. The longer they waited, the stronger Earth's resistance would become. He made his decision. "Prepare to retreat." His officers stared at him in shock. "Retreat, Commander?" Tyler asked. "Are you sure?" Veroldar nodded. "The Eldari do not conquer through force alone. We conquer through wisdom. And right now, the humans have shown us that they have a power we cannot defeat. It's time we rethink our strategy." For the first time since the invasion began, the Eldari fleet began to pull back from Earth. The tide had turned, and humanity had proven that their greatest weapon was not their technology or their military might. It was their will to fight and their ability to adapt. The Eldari were no longer the ones in control. It was Earth's turn to decide the future. The Eldari fleet, once hovering over Earth with overwhelming power, had begun its retreat. The stars above Earth were no longer a symbol of invasion and fear, but of the possibility of a new future, a future in which humanity stood not only as survivors, but as victors. Commander Veroldar watched from the bridge of his command ship, the screens flickering with the fading image of Earth. His mind was clouded with confusion and disbelief. He had come to conquer, to subdue. He had thought that humanity would be crushed under the weight of their technology, their superior intellect, their fear. Instead, they had stood tall, defied all odds, and turned the tables in ways he never imagined. In the weeks since the initial invasion, something had shifted in the Eldari leadership. The resistance wasn't just about memes or protests anymore. The humans had taken it further, far beyond simple defiance. They had learned to outsmart the Eldari, to infiltrate their systems, and to turn their own strengths into weaknesses. The unity among Earth's people had forged a new power, one the Eldari could not overcome. On the surface of Earth, the celebrations were already beginning. Across the world, cities that had once prepared for war were now filled with joy. People danced in the streets, waving flags and banners that read, "We are Earth. We will not bow." It was a worldwide display of strength, one that had united all of humanity in a way that had never been seen before. The diversity of Earth's people, different races, religions, cultures, had come together with one common purpose: to protect their home. General Marcus, now seen as a hero, stood on the steps of a grand hall in Washington, D.C., surrounded by thousands of cheering citizens. The world's leaders were gathered with him, offering their thanks to the millions of brave individuals who had taken a stand. There were no more fears of an alien takeover. The Eldari had retreated, and Earth had won. "Today, we stand as one," General Marcus said, his voice loud and clear over the gathered crowd. "Today, we show the universe what it means to be human. We are not defined by the technology we have, or the weapons we wield. We are defined by our spirit, our will to survive, and our ability to laugh even in the face of the darkest threats. This victory is not just about us. It's about all of humanity, united as one." The crowd erupted into cheers, flags waved, and confetti fell from the sky. The world had made history, not through violence, but through unity and the power of human resolve. Across the globe, the memes, the jokes, the viral videos, everything that had started as a joke, had become a symbol. Humanity had shown that it could find humor in the worst of situations, and that humor had fueled a resistance stronger than any weapon. The Eldari, with all their technology and advanced strategies, had underestimated the power of a species that refused to be broken. Back in space, Veroldar sat in his command chair, his hands trembling slightly. He had made the decision to retreat, but it hadn't been easy. His pride, the pride of the Eldari, had been wounded. He had expected Earth to crumble, to beg for mercy, but instead it had become the one thing the Eldari could not defeat: a united force. As the last of the Eldari ships left Earth's orbit, Veroldar turned to his officers. They were silent, unsure of what to say. They had been part of an invasion that had failed. There was no glory in retreat, no honor in their defeat. "We underestimated them," Tyler finally said, her voice quiet. "Their strength was never in their weapons. It was in their unity. We thought we could break them with force, but instead, they broke us with laughter." Veroldar nodded slowly, lost in thought. He had seen civilizations rise and fall throughout his long life, but none like Earth. None had fought back in such a way. He had seen the power of fear, the power of destruction, but he had never seen the power of laughter, of defiance, and of a shared belief in something greater than oneself. "I miscalculated," Veroldar admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "It wasn't their technology that was the threat. It was their spirit. And that is something we could never understand." Back on Earth, humanity was rebuilding. The war was over, but the lessons it had taught would live on forever. The world had learned that true power didn't come from weapons, but from the hearts of its people. Humanity had faced an invincible foe and had won, not through force, but through resilience and unity. The memes, The jokes and the viral videos had been more than just entertainment. They had been the foundation of a movement. They had shown the Eldari and the rest of the universe that humanity would never back down, no matter the odds. Earth's greatest strength was not its military or its technology. It was its people. And so, as the stars watched from afar, Earth stood strong. A new chapter had begun. The Eldari had learned a hard lesson. That humanity, the species they thought they could crush with ease, was not to be underestimated. Earth had shown the universe one simple truth: humanity would never be conquered.